Hi. So in order to keep progressing making these videos and hopefully make them better and make them a bit more interesting as we go along, one of the things I wanted to up was the audio quality. You might have noticed the first couple of videos weren't too great. My brothers recently gifted me this, which is a pod mic by Rode. As you can see, this is literally what they gifted me, and I'll have to get interface and a few other bits and pieces. However, it needs a stand, and it wouldn't be like me to not make one out of wood. So if you want to see what I built for this, stick around and let's go. So let's start by selecting some offcuts, and we'll grab a piece of Jarrah for the base and a piece of cherry for the stem. And just kind of figuring out where I want to pull that from, we'll start by just marking it out. Let's grab the crosscut sled. This thing's tried and tested and quite good for cutting these kind of awkward pieces. So let's start by trying to get that stem from the center of this piece of timber. It's quite an awkward cut, but we eventually carve it out. And then we will square up the base just to give ourselves a nice big base given the weight of the microphone. Now grab a trim router and set it up ready to go. And not film any of the trim routing. I'm sorry about that, but here's the end result. So we've got that cherry rounded over and then a bit of a bevel cut on the base. We'll then drill 8mm dowels for both the stem and the base. And we'll glue those together, a bit of tight bond, before center punching where the top piece is going to go. I'll then use a smaller drill bit than what I intend eventually, just to start it off. And as you can see, it kind of moved, which wasn't the end of the world because some of that was more bark timber and some of it was actually core timber, so being on the far side is probably better strength-wise. We'll then slowly thread this bolt in. This is a 3/8 bolt and it's the correct thread for the microphone. We'll just wind it in with the drill and that'll give us an internal threading. We'll now grab some 5-minute epoxy, and that will give the bolt its strength when it's inside that piece of timber, but at the same time it's not going to allow it to back out or turn as we're trying to thread the microphone on. We'll now finally use that epoxy and finally send that bolt home. Once that bolt's home, we will end up taking the bolt head off. Now we'll hit the entire thing with some sandpaper. At this point you can see me using about 240 grit to kind of finish everything up. So when it comes to wood like this, I'd much prefer to sand it by hand instead of using a power tool or something that might send pieces flying everywhere. And as always, the big reveal. So using some wipe-on poly, these Jarrah pieces always come out really nice and dark, and you can see that bleeding there from when that piece of timber would have been rained on or quite weathered. And then the cherry, you can always see those veins of that nice big piece of cherry coming through. It's quite an aesthetically pleasing timber. So there you have it. Really simple design, and I'm really loving the time it took to make, coupled with the fact we've got some nice cherry on top here, and we've also got the solid base down the bottom. It does have these 2 strips of felt on the bottom as well, stop you scratching your surfaces up, which is always good. Hopefully this will help with making better videos, better audio quality of course, and we'll see how the next videos kind of go. So as always, like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.